All right, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Makakwadash. Double honors the apostles and the elders, great millstone, 50 chances truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquatham. Listen, may the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of wanted to go through this clip I came across in regards to the new president Trump and some remarks he made about tariffs, right? So without further ado, let me just play the clip. Oh, and just let me just say this: fair use. This is I'm not making any money off this video. This is strictly just for edification and educational purposes only, right? Okay, so let me just jump to the clip. All right, so you saw the clip. He's essentially he's speaking very forward things, right? And this is Trump's, this is one of the things he's doing, and this is not nothing new anyway. He's done this before with different comments that he's made, right? But the point I really wanted to hit was the one of the not just the arrogancy, right? Because he's saying that, okay, if I was president, in this situation, these things wouldn't happen, right? So let me just get a couple precepts on this, and I want to get a couple precepts in regards to prophecy and how Rataza, all this would come together, and this would be an edifying lesson, right? So this is Proverbs chapter 8, verse 13, and it says, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy, and the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate, right? So let me get that word froward mouth, because Trump is an example of a king, um, of a ruler essentially, who has a very, he's like a horse without a bridle basically, right? And his mouth is causing him a lot of trouble, right? So just bear with me. Let me just pull this up in the etymology. Let me just get the word froward just for edification. Froward. Okay, so froward in the etymology, it says turn against, it says perverse, disobedient, peevish, petulant, adverse, difficult, away from, right? So it says to about to depart, doomed to die. So let me go back to, oh, here's another one here. Proverbs 4 verse 24, and it says, put away from thee a froward mouth and perverse lips, put far from thee. So this is, this is the way Trump is essentially behaving, and it's going to cause a strong rift between the whore and those EU allies, right? So let me go to that next, so we can expound on that too, because now, as a matter of fact, before I expound on that, excuse me, I just want to give you some more examples, because I was just reading this article here. This is Center for Strategic International Studies, so csis.org. What I'll do, if I can get the clip, not the clip, the website, I want to attach it in the description below, just for edification, right? So this is so what they did was, here, I'm looking at this article, they compiled a list of different comments that he's made, either recently or within his last administration. So here are some of the comments that he made. He says, so this is in regards to his allies. So he's saying this is his allies. So it says, one of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay, we're attacked by Russia. Who will protect us? I said, so I'm guessing he's quoting something that somebody else said. And he said, you didn't pay. you're delinquent, he said. It says, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell you got to pay. You got to pay your bills. So essentially, Trump is encouraging a lot of his allies to essentially increase their contributions, the military contributions, right? So here's something else he said in let's see here. Okay, here's another one. This one was said on September 20th last year during the presidential debate. It says the European Union treat us violently. They don't. Oh, this is from the clip. They don't take our cars. They take. We take their cars by the millions. They don't take our farm product. Very little of it. We take their farm product. They take almost nothing. We have a deficit with them of the way of over $200 billion. Okay, so here's another one here. Hold on, just bear with me on this. Okay, so this one he said in a Bloomberg interview, and he said Trump has also made it very clear for a long time he entered. Oh, so okay, this wasn't a comment. So this is, I guess, a general synopsis of what happened. Okay, so it says Trump has also made it very clear from long before he entered national politics that strongly opposes the stationing of U.S. forces abroad in affluent allied countries like South Korea and Germany, as the CSIS data set shows. Right, so they show you the data of Trump called the 5% of GDP. GDP essentially is gross domestic product of defense spending by the allies. So it shows you. So here on the website, it shows you like a breakdown of a country's defense spending, right? So now we know that a lot of these nations, mostly these NATO EU nations, they have, a budget that they would allocate for defense spending. Some of these countries are a lot smaller than others. A lot of these countries are not as big and as have a great spending GDP, or I guess a big military budget in comparison to America, right? So here, so you have countries like Poland and Estonia, Latvia, Greece, Lithuania, South Korea, Finland, Denmark, UK, Romania, so on and so forth, right? So what does the prophecy really say about this? Because you see, what's going on here. Now he's, from the clip, he's actually saying, you're gonna slap tariffs on the EU nations. We take their cars, we take their farm product, we take this, we take that, and what is his mindset? Is like, yo, we don't benefit from this relationship, right? That's how he's starting to feel. He's in a spirit of a nationalist, like, America first, right? So let's go to. Okay, I'll start at verse 2. This is Revelation 17, verse 2. And it says, whom the kings of... let me start at 1. Revelation 17 and 1. And it says, and there came one of the 7 angels, which had 7 vials, to talk to me, saying, come unto me, come hither. Sorry, saying unto me, come hither, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Right, so the whore represents America, and the many waters represents all these different nations and kindreds and tongues, right? Because America is a massive melting pot of different nations. Verse 2, it says, whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk with the wine of her fornication, right? So now we see, as Trump explained, these nations, they do business with America, trade, America's accepting their European cars, their farm product, right? But one of the things America does to that different wine, those different philosophies, it pushes its filthy philosophies upon other nations, right? That's why a lot of these countries have a strong dislike for America. So in this case, you see that America is essentially being strongly disliked by their own allies, right? Because one, you see the way that Trump essentially is conducting himself because he has a very forward mouth. He's a very boastful individual, and the scriptures talk about that too. So let me go. Um, I'll come back to Revelation. Just bear with me on this. I'm kind of touching a little bit on not just only the prophecy's sake, but you see the mindset of having a king that's very, boastful. There's a strong contrast between him and King David, right? Um, let's see. Let me go to Proverbs. Let's see. Just bear with me on this. Because he's boasting and saying like, I've essentially, if I was president during this time, these things wouldn't happen. I am a competent president. I am this. I am that. The scriptures say that let not a rich man boast in his riches, and let not a mighty man boast in his might. Right? If we boast, as brothers, elders, apostles, have this understanding and this truth. We boast in Yahweh Bashim El Shai first and foremost, right? That's a righteous way to boast. We don't boast in the things that we do. We don't boast in the things that we can accomplish, right? We boast in knowing because we know and understand the Lord, right? But you see the contrast in the boasting and the way Trump conducts himself. Like, if I was president, these things would not happen. You understand what I'm saying? So, just bear with me. Okay, so I want to come back to Revelation. Let me just read this in Proverbs. Okay, so Proverbs 27 verse 1, and it says, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." And the scripture, and it says, verse 2, "Let another man praise thee, not thine own mouth, a stranger, not thine own lips." Right? So he has the mindset of like, if I did this, if I was in office, if this was my administration, these things wouldn't happen, right? So he's kind of bragging up himself, right? And we know the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, right? So as a matter of fact, okay, let me go back to, as a matter of fact, I want to go back to Revelation. Okay, so, let me jump down to, because I mentioned, okay, so this is Revelation 17, verse 15, and it says, so in regards to the melting pot, this is, and he said unto me, the waters that which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, right? So that great big melting pot, right? Verse 16, here's the juicy part. This is so Revelation 17 verse 16, and it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." Right? So now you see, the you see essentially Trump is essentially fanning the flames of what's going on right now, because the relationship between America and you have these NATO and EU nations, right? They're essentially feeling a strong rift because of, one, his comments, and then two, the policies that he's putting forth, the things that he's talking about, going back to the tariffs, right? Because you put tariffs on those nations, right? Then they're going to start feeling the squeeze. So then they're going to have a stronger dislike for America. Why? Because their own people are going to be suffering even more. Not that they were suffering right, not that they're not suffering right now, but it's going to escalate the suffering, and it's going to escalate the hatred. It's essentially what Trump is doing through these different soft power strategies. Is essentially what he's doing is fanning the flames, right? And this is all just to fulfill prophecy's sake. So let me get the precept I was holding a second ago. Um, just bear with me. Hold on. Laptop's a bit slow. Okay. Proverbs 21, verse 1. And it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh. And it says, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So you see that Trump is essentially, his mind is in the, his heart, his mind is in the hand of the Lord, right? So essentially, the things that he's doing is essentially fanning the flames to create that tension, create that friction between him, America, the whore, and the EU nations. They're going to have a very strong dislike for America. And America doesn't have, when you think about it, outside of them, America doesn't have too many allies, too many friendly allies who's going to come to their aid, because America has essentially made enemies almost all over the world, because they're not, think about this logically, right? They're not very well liked in the East. They're not very well liked in countries such as like Western African countries, when they were pushing their philosophies. Um, they're So, for example, I don't know if it was I don't think it was last summer. I believe it was either the summer before that, when you had the VP Kamala Harris at the time. She was going down to those Western African nations like Uganda and Ghana, and probably some others too. And they were trying to basically force and push their own ideologies in regards to the alphabet lifestyle, right? So this is why a lot of these countries have a strong dislike for America. In the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, they're not very well liked. Countries, they got, like countries like Iraq. When you think about countries like Iran, these countries, Libya, what they did to, Gaddafi and all that, all these different things. America doesn't have too many friends, like that Drake song, No New Friends, you know what I'm saying? Drake, America is losing support from, when you think about it on an international scale. That's why his judgment is going to be so horrific, right? Not just for what they did for to these other nations, right? Right, but also what goes on in their own country as well. Um, so, that's pretty much, the point, in regards to prophecy's sake. And there was something else that kind of struck my mind as I was, I saw this, what's it called? This clip here. It reminded me of this account, because, he has a very boastful type of character, Trump, about him. And I kind of wanted to read a little bit of this here. Because he reminded me of one of these Assyrian kings. Just bear with me. Let me just find the account. Okay, so this is Second Kings 19. Let me see where I can start here. As a matter of fact, let me get it in the NLT. See how smooth that reads. Okay, this is 2 Kings 19. This is verse, I'll start at verse 9 in the NLT, and it says, Soon after, King Sennacherib received word that King Tir- Tirhakah of Ethiopia was leading an army to fight against him. Before leaving to meet the attack, he sent messengers back to Hezekiah in Jerusalem with this message. So it says, this message is for King Hezekiah of Judah. Don't let your power, Yahweh, in whom you trust, deceive you with promises that Jerusalem will not be captured by the king of Assyria. You know perfectly well that the king of Assyria has done whatever. Sorry, let me read that again. It says, you know perfectly well what the kings of Assyria have done wherever they have gone. They have completely destroyed everyone who stood in their way. Who should you? Why should you be any different? Have the gods of the other nations rescued them, such as nations as Gozan, Haran, Rezeph, and the people of Eden who were in Telasar? My predecessors destroyed them all. What happened to the king of Hamath and the king of Arpad? What happened to the kings of Sepharim and Hena and Eva? And after Hezekiah received the letter from the messengers and read it, he stood up to the Lord's temple and spread out before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord, O Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, God of Israel, you are enthroned between the mighty cherubim. You alone are power of all the kingdoms of the earth. You alone created the heavens and the earth. Bend down, O Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, and listen. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see. Listen to Sennacherib's words of defiance against the living power. It is true, Lord, the kings of Assyria have destroyed all these nations and have thrown down the gods of these nations into fire and burned them. But of course, the Assyrians could destroy them. They were not gods at all, only idols of wood and stone shaped by human hands. Now, O Lord Yahweh, our power, rescue us from his power. Then all the kingdoms of the earth will know that you alone, O Lord, are Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, right? So I'm reading this, because the mentality, the parallels between Trump's boasting is very, very similar to the way that Sennacherib was boasting, because when you think about it, when Hezekiah received the message, the message was kind of like a laundry list of a resume of I took over this place, I took over that place, I conquered this place, I conquered that place. What's stopping me from me conquering you? You know what I'm saying? And that's what Hezekiah did. What Hezekiah did was, he prayed before Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for that deliverance, for that protection. And essentially he got smoked, right? And America is going to be the same way, right? So towards the end, essentially, okay, I'll just read a little bit of the end and I guess I'll close it up. And it says, and that night an angel of the Lord went out to the Assyrian camp and killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. When the surviving Assyrians woke up the next morning, they found corpses everywhere. And Sennacherib of Assyria broke the camp and returned to his own land, where he went to the capital of Nineveh and stayed there. And one day he was worshipping the temple of his god, and Nisroch, his sons, and Adremelech and Sharezer killed him with his own swords, then escaped to the land of Ararat. And another son, Esarhaddon, became the next king of Assyria. So essentially, King Sennacherib, the boasting, the way he was boasting, the Lord took down and cut down his pride, right? And it's the same way with America, because America is essentially in a state of complete pride, and they think that no country, or they think no one can take them down, basically. Right? They're in a state of pomp. They're in a state of loftiness, of haughtiness, because no one's ever actually pierced them, touched them up, right? But America has a lot of allies, right? And just like I read before, even their own allies, including the countries, Persia, I believe Ethiopia, and Libya, they're going to be guarded by Russia, right, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, right? So it's not looking good for America, right? It's really truly not looking good for America at all, right? America has too many enemies, right? As a matter of fact, I guess I'll close off with this last one. So like my thing is going a little bit slow. Let's go to Joel. Okay, let me just go back to the KJV here. Okay, this is Joel 3 and 9, and it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare for war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say I'm strong." Right? So all these nations are gearing up in a warlike state, right? To essentially, bring that recompense upon, countries like America, right? So, anyways, I guess I'll leave it there. I kind of went a little bit long, but I sincerely prayed. This lesson was edifying. I just thought it was interesting to bring out, and I decided to give out praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Makakwadash, that honors the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.